Howdy, Dr. Elizabeth Latham here, and today I am going to talk about the direct and indirect effect of honey as a functional food against metabolic syndrome and its skeletal complications. And this is out of the University Kebangsaan Malaysian Medical Center under Dr. Chin, and it's a review article with decent pedigree. I was really excited to read this because it changed my opinion, and I love having my mind changed. My philosophy in life is to have strong opinions, but loosely held. And I've always thought that honey was super overrated as a functional food, and that it was just basically sweet bee spit. So let's first go into what is honey. So bees collect nectar, which is sugar from flowers to encourage pollination. So the bees grab the nectar, and then they go from flower to flower and spread the pollen, which is basically like bee semen. And it's produced through regurgitation, a series of enzymatic activity, and then water evaporation in the beehive. And it's mostly made of glucose and fructose, which is why I thought it was just expensive sugar and overrated. But what I didn't know is it's actually at least 181 substances. So 38% fructose, 31% glucose, water, and then enzymes, amino acids, vitamins, proteins, and polyphenols. Polyphenols. Remember that from last time? So polyphenols include things like flavonoids, phenolic acids, antioxidant enzymes, absorbic acid, and carotenoids, which are all super good stuff. And the reason being is polyphenols suppress free radicals in the body and reduce oxidative stress and is anti-inflammatory. But before we go into the benefits of honey, let's talk about metabolic syndrome. So you might have heard me mention it or heard someone else mention it, but what is metabolic syndrome? So it's a disease that's characterized by a cluster of medical conditions. The symptoms vary a lot individual by individual, but basically it is characterized by visceral obesity, diabetes, what's known as dyslipidemia, which is basically high fats and cholesterol in the blood, and hypertension, which is high blood pressure. And this predisposes individuals to cardiovascular disease and can lead to things like heart attacks and strokes. So it doesn't kill you directly, but these other complications will, leading to a 68% increase in your risk of sudden death. And it also just kind of lowers your quality of life. Why does it do what it does? Basically, the fat itself, the extra adipose tissue, leads to inflammation. It secretes molecules that lead to inflammation and oxidative stress and this whole cascade of other problems. That's one mode of action. It's actually really complicated, and we're probably not going to go into it. There's also evidence that basically the cellular catabolism, which is the breakdown of excess nutrients, also causes free radicals. But basically, you have low-grade inflammation and chronic oxidative stress. And what I didn't know about, and I learned from this paper, is that it also causes bone loss. So that was really interesting. Why does metabolic syndrome cause bone loss? 3 reasons. The first one is fat takes energy, and it will take energy from bones. Super oversimplified message, but basically fat takes energy from bones. Also, the underlying inflammation will reduce bone tissue. And lastly, you have a reduction in blood supply and circulation. And so the bone tissue, you have loss through that mechanism also. So how would honey help? The first reason is pretty obvious. One, all of those free radicals are suppressed through the polyphenolic content and the flavonoids and all that good stuff because honey is antioxidant. That makes sense. And so that deals with the underlying cause of metabolic syndrome, the inflammation and oxidative stress. What was interesting is it also helps with the fat directly, the excess fat. So there's only been animal studies that I could find on this and what they talked about. But basically, they fed rats honey and then what's known as isocalorics, so the same number of calories in just a sugar diet, And so the total energy intake was the same, basically. And basically, the honey was protective against obesity, and the ones that were fed honey versus the sugar had lower percentages of weight gain. I was like, that's kind of crazy to think about since it's sugar. Honey also helped with hyperglycemia, which is also crazy. So hyperglycemia, if you break down the words, hyper meaning a lot, and then glycemic meaning like sugar, means that there's sugar in your blood, your sweet blood. And this is a symptom of diabetes, but it can also happen through other ways. And this was a human trial where they gave a gram of honey a day, and serum insulin levels, which is the hormone secreted by your pancreas to control blood sugar, and the overall pancreatic oxidative status, so the stress on the pancreas, were improved with adding honey into the diet, almost like a supplement. So I thought it was really fun. And then there's benefits of honey on hypertension, which is the final symptom of metabolic syndrome that we discussed. So hypertension, again, is high blood pressure. So it's how hard your heart is working inside your body. And I thought this was crazy because fructose is positively associated with hypertension. So I'm like, what are you doing, honey? How are you improving blood pressure? Well, it's a little complicated, but we'll just say kind of overarching theme is that the honey is really good at preventing hypertension because of the antioxidants and because of the anti-inflammatory effects, but also due to the high level of minerals and vitamins in it, that the calcium in there also is anti-hypertensive and will lower your blood pressure. So super fun. So kind of in summary, honey exhibits basically like protective effects against metabolic syndrome by exerting direct anti-obesity, anti-diabetic, hypolipidemic, anti-fat in your blood, and hypotensive activity, so lowering your blood pressure. So it reduces the sugar, the free fats, and the general pressure of your blood. And basically, despite how sweet it is, which it is like so sweet, it's actually low glycemic. So what that means is it doesn't raise your blood sugar, which we already kind of learned, but it's really interesting. So if you take refined sugar, it will, raise your blood sugar, and it'll taste just as sweet, but it doesn't raise your blood sugar, which means that you're not likely to gain weight if you're substituting sugar with honey. And that's kind of the takeaway from this. I am definitely going to change the way that I've been cooking, and with the sweeteners I've used, I tend to grab refined white sugar. And now I think I might be trying to use honey more often. I am definitely going to start experimenting with honey in baked goods. I've made bread with honey before, and that was really amazing, but might as well branch out and try a little bit more. If you eat honey, how does it make you feel? Are you regular honey consumers? Am I just like really, really late on this trend? If that's the case, that's okay. Better late than never. All right. Bye, honeys.